More light is not necessarily better. To us, the gap between spirit and will was an evolutionary gap. In our view, will and body simply weren't seen as able to move as quickly as spirit and heart. We concluded that the manifested spirits were just not ready for the level of illumination we had, or for the presence of our love. We didn't think there was any lack of light and love for them, so we didn't see lack of it as reason for increasing density there. We saw the increasing density and the widening gap between spirit-heart vibration and will-body vibration as a result from body's lack of receptivity to us. The guilt mixed in with my light was not noticed then, and the denied guilt and the gapped rage that insisted that we were not guilty of anything certainly wasn't noticed for what it was. We decided the best plan for guilt-free living was to continue with the role some angels had already been taking on of going forth to the manifested spirits to offer whatever ministrations, counseling, advice, teaching, and parenting help they could, given the circumstances. The angels always went forth glowing, so much from the experience in the Godhead that it was often irresistible to me not to tag along and see what happened. The image I had was that such irresistible light would draw the manifested spirits to it and move them to take it in. When neither of these things happened, I restored to my many explanations. When the manifested spirit squirmed uncomfortably in the presence of this light and averted their eyes, I thought it was because they had grown so accustomed to darkness that they could no longer handle the light in whose presence they had been born. My light had evolved into something too dazzling for them. I too, for the manifested spirit, view my light as not accepting them as they were, and they were squirmed and view them as needing more self-acceptance. It didn't occur to me that they might not like my light because of the will and body denial involved in it. The manifested spirits did not feel unworthy within themselves, but not only for the reasons previously thought. We did have the feelings of superiority in ourselves that were making them feel this way. The will polarity of the manifested spirit was especially reflecting this to us. The spirit polarity of the manifested spirit was looking a lot lighter to us and had more receptivity to us. The angels went forth in a steady stream and looked like shining pools in what had already become the murky waters of the rainbow spirits. Since their forms reflected what was happening in their light, the forms of the spirits who were not living in the Godhead were no more capable of retaining the healings we gave them than their essence was of retaining the light we gave them. Those who did not come around to our viewpoint always looked better to us than the rest, and we immediately vaulted them up as a proof of the rightness of our teaching if our teachings were only correctly applied. This always made the others glow even more darkly, though they would try to hide this by making a display of paying homage to these people. The most prevalent, yet hidden, and often denied feeling among the manifested spirit was that if God required this of them, they weren't sure. They wanted to move toward God. But if the other direction was as they feared, they had no choice but to try to be as good as possible. Our light essence felt good to us. We liked the way it was vibrating and we couldn't see any reason why the manifested spirits should want to resist it. The only reflection they gave us that made sense to the way we viewed things at the time was that life in the Godhead must be much better in every way than their lives were, and they were too unworthy to be there with us. They gave us this reflection along with the feelings of jealousy we had felt before from the will. We did not go into these feelings to see what they might tell us. We dismissed these feelings immediately as lower nature stuff and tried to cultivate in them more openness to receive our light so that the manifested spirits could live more like we did. We didn't want to accept the guilt that there might be any reason why they should feel as they felt other than their own refusal to accept the light being offered to them. When we shined the light in their presence, the manifested spirits acted as though it had nothing to do with them that we were shining light. They wouldn't even admit they needed it, and often looked away as though they were ignoring us. We found this to be mildly angering, but we did not allow our emotions to move much in response to what happened in manifestation. Feelings were not present most of the time in a Godhead except for feelings of ecstasy and upliftment. What we called feelings were really more of a mental outlook than anything else. But we call this feeling positive emotions. And we didn't want to get ourselves involved in the negative emotions by allowing them to move in our lives. Nonetheless, some of the angels were not able to move around freely amongst the manifested spirits if they stayed with them very long. We always thought it was the nature of entering the magnetic energy field, and that just as the magnetic energy had become trapped in manifestation, it was time to trap the light in it. We did not like the feeling of being trapped or caught in manifestation, and we developed all manners of means to pop in and out of manifestation without getting caught in it. The more we did this, the more some of the manifested spirits started acting like they were laying traps to catch us whenever we came to them. A kind of game seemed to develop in which the skills of entrapment were being pitted against the skill of escape. Some angels enjoyed this more than others, but Bodhi got caught in this more than he liked. Since the form the angels took on were unusually what became trapped, while the angels jumped out of these forms with the essence they recognized as themselves. Since they viewed themselves as taking on forms rather than having bodies that were in an integral part of themselves, the angels were easily able to leave these forms behind and take on other forms almost as fast as stumbling eggs to go from one trick to another. The manifested spirits could not figure out how the angels were able to do this, since it was not a power of manifested spirits had. The angels very much enjoy appearing to be the magical creatures they already believed themselves to be, but in truth they were using body. The feeling I had at that time was that the angels were strong, learning well, versatile, and ready for anything, because they were so quick, both in movement and vibration. I thought speed was our greatest power, our greatest attribute, and our greatest virtue. It was not until the war in the heavens that I really allowed myself to connect to any other feelings I had about the angels. It was then that I saw weakness in the angels. Until then, I had not let myself see the angels as anything other than my closest friends and allies.